Hi, welcome to what is the second interview in our series for MotorServ UK TV. Today we're delighted to welcome Mr. Saj Hussain. Saj has become an online celebrity in the property social media world, with one of the largest property meeting networks outside of London. Being an experienced and very successful property developer himself, he has become the go-to guy for anything related to property and has become a social media sensation, with over 70,000 followers across his various channels so far and climbing. So here, we'd like to say a massive welcome to Mr. Saj Hussain. Welcome once again, Saj. Thank you very much for coming over, and I hope the traffic wasn't too bad getting across Birmingham today.
Well, if it was Birmingham, I couldn't refuse. It's so close. So. Thank you so much for the invite.
No problem at all. So, I've known you for about 7 years now. Well, I've known of you for about 7 years, and I think we met when we had that meeting about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've obviously
networking event, I think.
Yeah, it was a networking event, and I met up with you personally.
Yeah.
At one point, and then since knowing you, I've seen all your online content. I've seen all your growing social media machine, if you can call it that, because it is very impressive. So yeah, just for obviously all our watchers and listeners out there, just could you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, so I'm based in Birmingham, and what I tend to do is predominantly I'm focused on property, residential property, and we the focus for us is making money from property. Whether we're buying something to sell, we're holding for long term, we're managing property, we're doing short stay on it, or we're helping and teaching, training other people to make money from property. But ultimately, that's what we're doing. We're involved in residential property in Birmingham. We're doing that for probably getting close to 16 years now. Yeah.
So before that, so it's throughout your career, have you always been in property or property related, or?
No, I haven't always done property, but I've always been fascinated by property, and I think that fascination has come from, well, firstly, when you're of an Asian background, it's drilled into you early to buy property, and I never did. I didn't really get into property, but I understood, because you always have a relative or two that's got quite a portfolio and they do quite well, and you think, okay, maybe there's something in this. Perception always was for me that you need a lot of money to get started in property, and it's somewhat I parked. I never really did anything with. But I always have worked for myself, apart from a few little stinches, a few months here and there working for somebody. Predominantly I've always worked for myself, and quite early I decided I didn't really want to work for anybody. I just want to control my own destiny. And so I ran an IT company first, started that it's probably very early 90s, late 80s that time. And that company ran for about 14 years. We did quite well. It was quite early at that time. I was always interested in computers back in the 80s. I'm showing my age a bit now. Commodores, the ZX Spectrums, kind of that era. That was kind of my fascination into computing at that time. Yeah. And I was one of those kids that was always selling stuff in a school. You know, that kind of kid, and I would sell computer games to other kids in the school, kind of about 12, 13 years of age at that time. And as we got into college, I did that for a little while, then get distracted by other things as we were doing college, and then went on to university. And then as we were finishing university, I wanted to get back into something again, and I still had the interest in computers, and I was interested in business, and it just seemed like a logical next step. Interested in computing, but less kind of do computers. The reality is I very quickly realized I knew a little bit about computers and even less about business. And so kind of try to figure out the hardware. And there was nobody really showing you the way. You just kind of buy a computer from here, sell it there, make a few quid, and that's it. But I think timing was quite good, because a lot of the people we met at the time they're just buying their first computers, solicitors, accountants. We would get rid of the word processor, putting them in the bin and putting a PC on their desk. So that worked quite well. And actually, for quite a few years, we did very well out of that, and we made good money from that. But I also managed to really due to a number of bad decisions on my own part, put the business in quite a bad way, and ultimately kind of the whole thing came kind of tumbling down. So when I started in property, I was literally kind of on my knees starting again.
Oh wow. So what kind of what time period is this? Like, so when
So
was
this
that?
was about 2006-ish,
Oh wow!
around that
So,
sort of time, that I started looking at property. I mean, for a few months I was really licking my wounds, kind of blaming everybody else. It's the staff, it's the suppliers, it's the economy, it's this, it's that. It was everybody's fault apart from myself. But really, you know, it took a little bit of time to accept the person I look at in the mirror every day. That's a person who has to take responsibility for kind of what happened, the good and bad. And it's quite a humbling experience on the way down. You learn a little bit on the way up, you learn a lot more on the way down.
Yeah.
And years earlier, we'd bought a property by kind of accident. My dad was pushing me at the time, you need to buy property as a home. And I thought he was just pushing me out of the house. Wife and I, go on, you need to kind of go off on your own now. And we bought this property, we sold it a few years later, and it made, I can't remember the exact figures now, but something like 80 grand we made on that property. We didn't do anything other than just hold it for a few years. And that's kind of stuck with us, my wife and I, that actually, you know, maybe there's something in this property thing.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So right now, in what you're doing on your own personal kind of portfolio, is there anything that you particularly specialise in, or is there anything that you do?
So I guess there's two parts of the business when it comes to what we do property-wise. One is we look for things that we can keep for the long term, and those are properties that produce a really good yield. So what we're not really interested in is a little family house that we rent out and earns us a modest income. What we're interested in is where can we supercharge a rent, and it's things like high-end HMOs or co-living. By high-end HMOs, I mean they're a little bit like a student house, several people living together sharing, often the people working as opposed to students. But we create a premium product. And it's like they're like 5-star hotels, some of them, they're really high end. And so we charge a premium rent for that. So if you imagine from a standard house, we might be generating, you know, like 3 grand a month rent from a house that would ordinarily rent for maybe £1,000. So that tends to be our core bread and butter. And then we have short stay model like the Airbnb model. Again, that's kind of higher cash flow. So those are kind of properties we like to keep. And some we own and others will lease as well for a long period of time. And then the other side of the business is stuff we kind of buy and sell. We buy, add some value, sell it on for a profit. That's what we're doing. And I see it's not all that different from a business like this, what you have here. It's a commodity. You either kind of you buy something, you add value, you sell it on, or you know, if you're leasing cars, it's the same kind of concept. Really, it's just a different product.
Yeah, definitely. Well, isn't it the case that
Yes.
the business is pretty much the same concept? It's just you're just doing different things.
Yes.
So no, brilliant. So at the moment, is there any particular, because I've seen that you're building your own house, and are you doing any other building projects at the moment?
Yeah, so we're going to start a project with about 20 apartments in Erdington very shortly.
Wow.
We're just waiting for the final stages of that to get into place. We were building some houses last year which we sold and completed those with quite a few renovations in the pipeline. But last year's probably been slower for us than the previous years for a number of reasons. Primarily because the price has been really high. It's been more difficult to get the good deals. I think that's all going to change. The economy, you know, inflation, interest rates, you know, change of prime minister, you know, everything that's going on right now is heading towards actually the market's going to change. The economy generally will change, and property is one of those first things that suffer. And for some people that's a bad thing, it's a problem. I think you just need to be, as with any business, you just need to be ready to adapt. As market changes, you just change with it. So I think it will present new opportunities. So I think we'll ramp up quite considerably what we do in the next year or two compared to what we've been doing, say, the last year.
No, definitely. So with your kind of business as such at the moment, are you trying to become, is it kind of converting into like, you mentioned that you built some houses and you sold them, and now you're building some apartments hopefully. So are you looking to become like a development company? Is that what your ultimate aim is? It's
not becoming a developer as such, because in the building stuff, yes, there's some value, but I'm not a big fan of putting all our eggs in one basket. So we have a multitude of businesses, quite a lot of different businesses. They're all related to property, so they kind of cross-support each other. So we've got management agencies that we have, we've got the training business, we've got the development stuff that we do, projects that we renovate. So they're all kind of cross-support each other, and the staff that work in the business, that work across those various different businesses. So my objective is to almost create a one-stop business for investment property. So then now we'll build out the business with regard to selling property, because I think it's a good time. Yeah. With the market change, I think they'll present a great opportunity to help other people buy property, which we've not done for a long time, which we probably did about 10 years ago because it was the right time then. But yeah, I'd like to do more in the various different areas, but not put all our eggs in one basket and just do this one thing. I think in property, I don't think that's a smart move.
No, I think you're right, and it's the same. You're in this business today. You've been great to come and visit us today, but we've felt the same. So we've got like a service business,
Yes.
and then the sales business. They both support each other. So
yeah, and that's a perfect business model. It's a kind of business where you'll have customers bring their cars to you for servicing. You know, you build a relationship. When they come to change a car, they're much more likely to come to you than go anywhere else. And then they'll refer other people to you. And then if you wanted to, there's probably many extension businesses you could build off the back of this. Yeah. And I guess it's no different. And as we kind of already touched on, kind of social media and stuff, and the importance of that on the marketing side. I think as long as you got that right. For me, 3 of my kids work in the business. We've got 4 kids. One's a little bit young at the moment, even though she thinks she runs the whole business. So they work with me as well. And for a long time, I've said to them, look, there's one key skill I think you should master, and that's the skill of communicating. And what I mean by that, it's not verbal communication as such or public speaking, but communicating in the sense that when you're marketing or when you're selling, that's communicating. You master those 2 skills. It doesn't matter what you do, what area of a career you decide to build, those 2 skills will serve you well.
No, definitely, I agree. So here you are today. You've come to MotorServ UK, which is very good, and you are an existing customer of ours. So again, thank you for your custom over the years. Thanks for
looking after the cars.
Yeah, that's it. That's no problem. But so let's talk cars. So back in the day, I've seen some of your pictures on Facebook. I've seen some of the young Saj, even though you still look quite young now, but the younger Saj.
Yeah, I was a bit of a petrol head, probably a bit more probably diesel now rather than petrol head. But I was a bit of a petrol head in my younger days, and as soon as I could kind of afford a nice car, all my money went into, well, most of it went into insuring the car. By buying it. Probably paid more for the insurance than we did for the car at the time. I think it's not much different now, to be honest, for the young guys now. But that I kind of like my Fords in the early days, my Escorts and Fiestas, XR2s and RS Turbos. That was kind of my thing.
Picture that the red RS Turbo.
Yeah, I had a red RS Turbo, which probably crashed a few times. We all learned the hard way.
No driver assistance back then, was there?
No.
It was all raw power on the ground.
No, and that managed to get me quite a few points on my license. I had to be good after that for a little while.
Yeah, so you kind of like learn the ropes.
Yeah, calm down quite a bit. Yeah, so my Fords was my favourite cars. I enjoyed the Fords for quite a long time, and then Rovers, particularly the coupes, the Tomcats, the 220 turbos and stuff like that. I must 220 have about 30 odd Rovers.
Really?
Yeah, I love the
Rover.
Rovers. Yeah.
But then, I was going to ask you that, because now, over the years, you've obviously, you've risen the ranks in the automobile industry as well. But you drive Range Rover now?
Yeah, so I've got a Range Rover which I've had for quite a few years, and I think I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Range Rover. I'm being honest. I think it was one of those cars I'd always aspire to own.
Yeah, I was going to.
And if I'm being honest, if I think deep down, I think it's a kind of recognition thing. It's like, in business, it's a case of how do you recognise you do well? Oh, I drive a Range Rover, and maybe it's a bit shallow, but that was the one thing that kind of drove me materialistically. I mean, I don't spend a lot of money kind of generally on materialistic things, design and stuff, this and that. Like if I'm going to wear a branded top, someone's going to have to pay me for it, because I'm not going to put somebody else's brand on my top. So that tends to be my attitude. But that was the one thing I kind of always aspired to have a Range Rover. And so that was the love part of it. The hate part of it probably spends more time here than it does on the road sometimes.
We try and get it back to you as quick as we can.
Yeah, so they're nice cars, but they some have their challenges.
They require some love.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So over the years, do you think the Range Rover is the best car you've ever had? What would you say the best car you've ever had?
I had a few Mercedes as well. I think probably the S-Class Mercedes probably one of the nicest cars that I've had. So I think I stuck to the British cars for a long time, and I never really did any German cars. So the first German car I had was a 3 Series BMW 325. Was it 328? Might have been 328. Kind of a M3 lookalike.
Yeah.
And that was nice, but I'd struggled with the the rear wheel drive when I was used to front wheel drive for a long time.
In the Rovers,
and the back end is, where's the back end going kind of thing.
Yeah.
When you put your foot down. So German cars, I had the BMW for a little while, and then the Mercedes, then I bought another a couple of BMs afterwards. So I kind of dabbled a little bit of the between the Mercs and the BMs for a little while as well.
No, fantastic. So you've had a good variety over the years.
A good variety, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you had a Land Cruiser at one point as well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had the Land Cruiser as well. The Amazon, that was a bit of a tank. Drive through anything with that. Yeah.
It's talking about all the cars and like your choices and stuff over the years. Given you mentioned about the property and the economy, what's going on. Obviously, we're in the motor industry. There's been a lot of changes, during COVID, post-COVID, and then now everyone's working towards the zero carbon target for 2030. So that we're not going to have any combustion engines available.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? What are your plans for that? Are you looking at EV or?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's going to be the way. I think it's a bit sad to lose especially some of the really nice sports cars, your supercars and stuff, when they're in electric format. You wonder what they're going to be like.
Yeah.
And so I think it's sad to lose some of that and only have electric cars. It just doesn't feel the same when you put your foot down an electric car and you haven't got all the amazing noises that you have and the sound. You can't experience that. But I guess it's just going to be where everyone goes. There's not going to be much of a choice. So it's going to be
like you said before, petrol head to diesel head and then to electric head.
Electric head, yeah.
So no, it's definitely. Well, there's lots of simulation noises coming out. The Porsche Taycan makes a nice noise. No, definitely not. Doesn't touch the soul as much.
No.
Yeah. So touching back on the economy and the property and stuff, like you mentioned before, that because you started in 2006, like properly in the property game. So in that period, because it was just approaching a recession at that point, so it was quite a difficult period. And now we're about to approach a difficult period, so there might be a lot of people out there thinking, I'm not going to do it, I haven't got enough money, the market's about to collapse. So what would you say the opportunities are right now? Yeah,
firstly, I think the biggest eye-opener for me was when I got into property, was there's just so many different ways to make money from property. And my kind of expectation was that you need to save up a deposit, you buy a property and you rent it out, and that's it. And that's understanding for many people. Or you might do the homes under the hammer thing of you buy a property, add a bit of value and you sell it on for a profit. That's it.
Yeah.
And most people, that's all they know. But there's probably 100 different ways you can make money from property. But it's only when you get into it you realize. And so many different people use certain strategies and they do really well from those, but not all strategies work all the time. Yeah. Some strategies work better at certain times of the property cycle because the market works in a cycle. You have your boom, bust, it's just the way it is. And some strategies work better in different locations, depending on where you're based geography-wise in the country. So I think now when we think there'll be a bit of a slowdown in the market, we think the kind of opportunity will be different. So let me give you an example. So say last year, this year we're looking at deals. A lot of the deals are based on numbers. It's a case of what we're going to pay for something, how much is it going to cost to improve it, what's going to be the end value, what's our profit in that. That's what we focus on. Everything's kind of numbers driven. And when the market slows down, we start entering a recession or recessionary period, and what we were doing say 10 years ago in the recession, really we weren't focusing so much on the numbers, we were focusing on people that need to sell who work with you and do a deal. Yeah. So and people talk about the 3 Ds, debt and divorce, and there's many reasons why somebody might be motivated to do a deal with you, sell a property for less than it's worth. Initially, I couldn't really get my head around that. Why on earth is somebody going to sell you a house for less than it's worth? Would you sell your house for less than it's worth? No, you wouldn't. So it's difficult to understand. But when you start speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people, as I did, and you understand their stories and their circumstances, you can see why it can work. So for example, mainly the deals I was doing in those days were to prevent a recession repossession from happening. So people are about to lose their house. It's literally the kind of, the last few days, and you'd step in and try and find a solution. You'd stop the house being repossessed. So you'd kind of prevent them having a repossession over their head and kind of on their credit file. And you do a deal on the property, you clear the debts, they'd get some money out of it, you'd make a profit out as well. And it's a kind of win-win-win. Yeah. And so I think that, when I got my head around that, a lot of it is focused on, how can I find people that need help? And if there's a deal to be done on the property, it'll happen. So the focus is, okay, who has got a problem with their property, how can we help them? So that's what shifts. So rather than numbers, then it's down to individuals talking to people. And that's also, I think, why the property gets a bad rap as well, because sometimes when you're talking to people, they could be vulnerable. They could be in a situation where they're in quite a bad way. And unfortunately, you get some sharks in the industry who will look to just take advantage of them. And this is where I think, it's unfortunate a few bad apples can give an industry a bad name as well. But I think, especially in this industry, you look after people, you work in the best interest of everybody can benefit, and you don't have to trample over anybody to do well in this industry.
Oh, definitely. But talking about that, because I look into property quite a lot because I've got a bit of an interest in it myself, like with my family.
Massive portfolio.
Yeah, I wish. But there's a lot of packages out there. There's a lot of companies on Facebook and social media, teaching the rent-to-rent models and the service accommodation models, and there's a lot of people going into it. And I've seen myself a lot of people kind of crashing out quite badly and getting themselves into a bit of a situation. So what would you say to anyone like looking for training or going out there?
That's a really good point you raise, because you see a lot of it. I think there's a few things. Unfortunately, again, because there's so much money to be made in this industry, because we're talking about high value transactions. For many people, it's the single most expensive thing that they'll ever buy in their life. So we're talking about very high value transactions. And it attracts some sharks as well and some unethical people. And you'll get some people selling dreams to dreamers. What they're doing is selling a vision of something that's maybe not so easy to implement, and not really being honest about actually it requires a lot of work. Property is simple. The models are simple, they're not difficult, but it is hard work. It's not easy. And that's the thing I think many people don't quite grasp. Yes, you can make £1,000 a month from a house you don't own. Is it easy? If it's that easy, everybody would be doing it. It requires some graft. But if you're prepared to be, you're prepared to persevere, and you're prepared to do what it takes to understand and learn the business, do it properly, build it on solid foundations, then absolutely you can build a business. For me, I think there's very few businesses that are based on assets like this that you can either own or control and create massive rewards out of for yourself. So I think that there is a lot that that you can take from property and benefit from, build a business from, but there's also a lot of people in the industry that, let's say, are not very honest in terms of how they approach what they do. And I think if you are looking to learn about property, first of all, there's just so much content free online these days. If information is not the issue, it's almost information overload. There's loads of information out there that you can find. Then the thing that I would do, and I still do if I'm looking to learn something, I'm trying to find who are the best people at this, who are doing this really well that I can learn from, and then see if there's a way that I can learn from them. And it may be that that's kind of face to face, and sometimes, like, even if you read an inspiring autobiography of somebody in your industry who's done something, there's so much learning from that. So can you learn from the best people, and have they been doing it a while, or have they been doing it 5 minutes and now they're an expert? And hey, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody, but if I'm looking to learn from somebody, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a track record. They know what they're doing. They know this business. They're at the top of their game. I can definitely learn something from somebody like that. And then you need to be prepared to work hard. Property is not get rich quick. It's definitely not get rich quick. It is get very rich slowly. Yeah. And if you put the effort in, and as I said, I don't think there's anything else that, if you put that much effort in, can generate you those kind of rewards. And I don't know anything about crypto before I get those comments.
For the crypto guys come out, But no, definitely, I 100% agree with everything you say. And because even through my own property journey, we used to do a lot of flips. Like when I was younger, it was actually the first thing that I used to do in quite serious, enthusiasm. Yes. It was great for us, and but then the market was right for that at the time. And now with my other, obviously this business takes up a lot of time and a lot of my effort and enthusiasm now. So I've turned more long term. Yes. So just long term view, just kind of park it. Yes. It's more retirement assets and for the future, because I've got 3 kids, so kind of looking for them now.
And when you're starting in property, these are the kind of things you think about. Do I need income for today? Is it something that I want to top up my income? Do I want to replace my income? Or is it I've got a busy day job, I'm earning a lot of money and I want to park that money for my future?
Exactly.
So often people don't think about these things. They watch somebody or they see somebody in the results again and think, I want that. As opposed to why and how's that going to work for you?
Because a lot of people see the homes under the hammer. Yes. And I get a lot of people asking me as well, and they say, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and buy a house at property auction in Birmingham and I'm going to buy it, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And it's like, but you're a doctor.
Yes.
When are you going to do that? And you're not going to be able to give it the time and effort that it requires. So you're likely you're going to hit a few hurdles. So you might get a bit of trouble doing that, and it's not as rosy as it looks on TV. And
I'm smiling because I'm thinking an exact person in that
Yeah,
situation.
that's it. Yeah,
He's a very busy doctor, very high earner, and he's rolled up his sleeves to get into a project, and it's just really draining him, trying to manage the builders, the compliance stuff, trying to get these properties, trying to set you up as a HMO, and there's so many mistakes have been made because he's learning on the job. Yeah. And if he was a heart surgeon, he wouldn't learn on the job. No. It did go through a process. It's like, and I'm not saying heart surgery is the same as property developing, but there's a process of learning and understanding. If you jump in at the deep end, you massively increase your chance of getting your fingers burnt. Yeah, definitely. Because like you said, they learned at university, and then after university, the amount of training that they do to do their job is the same with property, because you got to learn as you go along. Definitely. And then I'm very similar to yourself, so I've got business advisors. I watch your property stuff because you know the game, so the advice is really good, so it's fantastic. But because obviously you've got you mentioned before that you've got obviously different sides of the business. So as a busy property professional yourself, you're doing a lot of projects yourselves. Like that side of the business is really busy. What made you set up the academy, and what made you set up like helping people? Because I think it's very good. It's very admirable, and it's fantastic. But what made you do it? As admirable as that may be, it's also profitable. Yeah. But there's such a buzz in terms of trying to help and serve other people as well that it's just, in terms of, when you see somebody grow. But kind of where it started was, I got involved in a training company as a student. I was learning from them, had support from them. And I ended up being involved with them for about 9 years. And I started off as a student, and by the time I'd left, I was delivering and running the kind of senior training, managing the kind of highest level group and stuff. And I loved that stuff. I enjoyed it. But I wanted to do something a little bit different to that. There were some things that had been done. I thought, well, maybe they should be done this way. I thought, well, actually, maybe I should just do my own. So a few years ago, I kind of just set off to do my own training, mentoring, and the networking events. Definitely, because I was going to mention that next, because I've been to your networking event in Birmingham at the Edgbaston Cricket Ground, and so it's one of the largest outside of London. How did you build that? How did that kind of come about? Again, I guess sometimes people see the tip of the iceberg and think, whoa, that's amazing, but actually been running networking events for about 10 years. Wow. Just a couple of months ago, I celebrated the 10th year of networking events. And so it's a slow slog, and many people have started networking events and run for a little bit and give up because it's such hard work getting people into a room. So it's a constant slog, but the main reason I tend to do it is it's the amount of contacts and connections I've built over the years through meeting people, going out the way, turning up into a room with people you don't know, you don't recognize, you go out, you talk to people. You'll either learn something from somebody, you'll get connected to somebody that might be interesting that you can benefit from. Somebody might have a deal that they're looking to offload that either you might be interested in, or you could maybe even offer to somebody else and sit in the middle of that deal. It may even be they've got funds to invest and they're potentially interested in working with you. All of these opportunities come from just meeting strangers. And if I'm the facilitator of bringing people together, you're in the middle of the flow of all that activity. There's always going to be opportunities that are going to come from that. And I realized that very early, by accident really, that actually the more people I talk to, or what I like to say is the more hands you shake, the more money you make. And that's really it. And it's, if I create the platform and bring people together, if I give a good value, if I can get speakers that share good knowledge and inspire them, and I have other great people in the room that people can network with, people want to come back again and again. And that's kind of how it's grown, and thinking about how I can serve and help others, and I just benefit just by the process of doing that. No, it's brilliant. Because you don't make any money from it, I'll tell you that. But you don't make any money from it instantly, but indirectly over time, as you say. But I've been taught the same thing. So relationship capital is worth more than financial capital in some respects, and it's always like I met you first at Chutney and Chat, Abid Khan's event, so the Pathway to Grow event. So that's where I met yourself, and then that type of kind of years later. And over time we start doing business, we do other things, and that's just because we've met. Otherwise you think, well, maybe we would never have met. And if you're doing that like every kind of week, you're meeting new people, you just think how quickly your network will grow. You just know thousands of people over the years. So no, it's brilliant. And your Edgbaston Cricket Ground, that was full.
So there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people to get around.
Yes,
But no,
you
it's
have plenty
brilliant.
of opportunities for networking. No
Yeah.
excuse for not meeting somebody.
Definitely. But because I love that event. I'm quite like networking events
Yes.
anyway. And I hate the little ones like, when you have to kind of stand in the room and go,
Yeah.
hello, my name's Kamran.
Yes.
I do the XYZ and you're wearing a badge. But it is good. It's a starting
Yeah.
foundation, isn't it? And it's really good. But so talking about your events more, because I went to the Alfie Best when you
Okay,
hosted
yeah.
Alfie Best,
Yeah.
and that was obviously a really good story. He's
Yes,
one of the most
very
successful
inspiring guy.
people in England, really. But any sneak peeks? Anyone else in the
Uh,
pipeline?
My lips are sealed.
Really? Can't you tell us anything?
I'm always trying to have people that have achieved, what I call super success in their area. And success means different things to different people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm talking about the context of property and business. So there is, let's say, a few very interesting people that will be sharing their knowledge with us soon.
No, brilliant. So keep an eye on your Facebook,
Yes.
and
Keep
try and
it
get
on
them.
social media. Yeah.
Try and get them tickets for the early bird
Yes.
and fantastic. And because you do the VIP bit as well, don't you?
Yeah,
Which
so
is
the
really
VIP essentially is like, it's a dinner we do afterwards, and I tend to do a
Yeah.
handful of people. I say a handful, about 10 people. So what that means is, you do networking and stuff, but sometimes people want to spend a little bit more time, sit down, have a chat. So
Yeah.
a few people join us for dinner after. That tends to be a VIP ticket.
No, that was really because you kindly invited me to the Alfie Best event, and before
Yes.
meeting Alfie
that was
Best,
like a
having
private
chat to
meeting
him,
before, yes.
that was really good, and it did give that opportunity. It was very close knit, so
Yes.
that was really good. So all the stuff that you do, because I see so much, like you're doing comedy clips now on TikTok and on
You're
Facebook.
embarrassing me now.
Yeah. But no, they're good. They're very good. You should keep doing them. But all the kind of social media content you do, who does it for you? Is it your kids, or have you got a team?
I'd like to kind of take all the credit, but I definitely can't take all the credit for it. I do have a team that work with me, and I started being active on social media probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the property people I was working with, they're kind of like Facebook was just starting to happen. Because when I first got involved, it was forums. There wasn't even a Facebook.
Yeah.
There was no Facebook. It was just private forums and stuff you'd be
Yeah.
on talking about property. And then Facebook started growing. There's doing a little bit on LinkedIn, and then you're kind of doing a little bit on different platforms just to try and stay connected with people and friends. And then
MySpace and friends.
yeah, actually, I didn't get onto MySpace, but I did learn the importance of sharing content. Now, when I was early in my journey, it's a case, well, I haven't got the experience to kind of show or teach somebody because I'm still trying to learn myself.
Yeah.
And I still say today, I'm still learning. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to learn and improve in terms of what we're doing because I don't think there's ever an end point. There's always more to learn.
Every day is a school day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I did start doing is kind of sharing some of the journey stuff and that, and what we're doing, how we're doing things, and then that kind of just built momentum from that slowly. And I don't claim to be an expert on social media, but I think it's fairly simplistic as long as you're putting good content out there that people like, that people want to see. You kind of build a little bit of a following on that.
No, definitely. I completely agree because we do the same thing.
Yes.
So
and this is a great way to kind of get out and get the message out. And I think years ago when I did start in property, the focus really was the networking part. Was the outcome from that was, okay, how many people do we know? Because the more people you know, the more opportunities there'll be for business. So it's a case of it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
That was kind of drilled into my head quite early. I think, well, that's what we need to do. We need to meet as many people as we can, build that network. I think now we move into an area, it's more about who knows you, as opposed to who you know. If you can go and knock on somebody's door and they've already know of you, that's half the work done.
Yeah. It's warming up that context,
and if you're trying to do
yeah.
business, that definitely makes it so much easier.
Well,
so I think, and it's a level playing field in the sense that anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's
but
it's
people
never,
do
we've never had that opportunity.
business with people, don't they? That's
Yeah.
the thing, yeah.
Yeah, people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And I think for us, that's our mantra on social media. How can people have an opportunity to get to know us, like, and trust us? So when we do meet them, it's almost like they already know you.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier then to kind of, to progress and, into business or whatever it might be.
Definitely. And obviously we follow the same rule book,
Yes.
you could say. And it's,
And
it
you're
works really well.
sharing knowledge, you're kind of inspiring other people, and it's something that will just build and build.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really good. So, like, touching upon that really, so for anyone out there, we spoke about it before, like with our last interview, Abigail, she gave a few tips about, for people that are out there, because people are reluctant to post, they're not doing it.
Yes.
So what would you say to them? What tips would you give them?
I'd say, look, if you're camera shy, there's one thing you can do. just get over yourself. I said that in a joking way, but really, I mean, if these days most content is going into video format, you know, whether it's long form like this or whether it's short form like your TikTok videos and reels and stuff, consuming video is the way forward. It's what people want. And you know, if you think about our own patterns when we're looking at the phone on social media, what we're doing, it's kind of the video stuff that most people are kind of moving towards. So we have to get comfortable with video being the norm. And if we're uncomfortable with a camera in front of us, then we have to start with being out of the camera. So for example, when I talk about property, it's a case, you could be at a property, videoing the property and talking about it without your face being in the camera. So that's the first step. At least start without being in the frame. And then transition to kind of what's comfortable. And if you find, if you Google hard enough, you'll find some really terrible videos of me kind of 10 years ago with my kind of face half cut off with a kind of selfie trying to explain something about a HMO, and you know, the first videos are going to be rubbish. You're going to look back at them and you think, oh my god, and you know, and you're going to get like 2 views, but that's good, because as you get better, you know, those 100%. Early ones don't matter, but you have to get in the game and get started, because I think really right now this is an opportunity of a lifetime to be able to build an audience that you can talk to, communicate with, clients, business, whatever it might be, that we've never had before. You know, when I grew up in the 80s, you know, we had 3 TV channels, again showing my age, and you know, if someone was advertising on Saturday evening, prime time, I mean, I've no idea what they would have spent to get like a 20-second slot, but I can imagine it would have been a horrendous amount of money. But these days, we've all got access to literally hundreds of thousands of people on our fingertips. Everyone walks around with their smartphone in their pocket. Yeah,
exactly. And exactly what you're saying, because we've been through the same journey and becoming like doing things like this. If you said this to me like even 3-4 years ago, I'd have been like,
and you can feel uncomfortable. But hey, look, you know what? If we start and we get, we do it, and you know, we find people. There's some people like it, and some people won't like it, and that's fine. And you know, Tony Robbins has a brilliant saying that I love. I don't even think it's his, but that's kind of where I heard it. It's what other people think about you is their problem, not yours.
Yeah, definitely.
See, but what we do, we get obsessed about, you know, what other people think. And you know, when I first got on camera, I was kind of really obsessive about my presentation, everything as well, and kind of make sure I'm in a suit all the time. And now I just rock up in jeans. I don't really care, because I kind of embody that more. Actually, it doesn't really matter. But then I also recognize, actually, people don't follow me for fashion and beauty. They follow me for property. You see, so when we get over all that stuff and we focus on what is it that people want rather than what is it that I want out of it.
No, definitely. And it's getting, like I said, you've got to get over yourself. And the way that I was kind of trained was because I'd have an appointment with you to come and view one of our lovely cars, and I'll talk to you about it, and I'll try and sell you that car. And how many appointments can I have a day? 5 or 6, possibly. So here's an opportunity. So I'll stand there in front of you and demonstrate that vehicle, no problem. But on a video, I'll go all shy and be like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. So it was the case of, but the video is just exactly the same thing, but you're doing it to potentially thousands of people. And you're more likely to sell that car faster. So it's like, oh, when you put it like that.
That can be quite daunting when we're thinking there are 1,000 people. It's like,
might be watching
it's like public speaking is like, you know, people are more fearful of that than dying. Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of, and why is that? Because we get really conscious that actually all these people are watching us. But really, if we think about, if we're having a conversation like this now, and there's maybe one other person sitting here with us, that person just happens to be a camera, and that's the way I've kind of learned or thought about his case of, I'm speaking to one person. There's one other person, they happen to be on the other side of the camera, rather than thinking it could be hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people on the other side of that camera.
And now you hope it's tens of thousands of people. That's how it is.
Absolutely. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you don't miss a single video.
Brilliant. But no, that's been really, really great. And just want to say thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for the invite.
I've learned a lot from this, so it's been really good. So hopefully you provided a lot of value for our viewers and followers. So thanks very much everyone for watching today. Do follow our channel and you'll see a lot more of these interviews. Hopefully you found it very interesting, and Saj was fantastic, so you shared a lot of information today that even I learned a lot from it. So Saj, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your car key back.
Much appreciated.
And, thank you again.
See you soon. Thank you. Hey, if you're still here watching, I'm assuming you're enjoying the video, then make sure you click on that subscribe button and also like the video as well, and put a comment in. What was it about this video that you enjoyed? Make sure you don't miss any of the videos that Cam's releasing. I'll see you soon.